Marcus Chen had always considered himself a practical man. At 32, he'd seen enough of life to know that nothing truly surprised him anymore. That assumption shattered the moment a silver-haired woman grabbed his arm outside the metro station. "Please," she whispered urgently, her violet eyes wide with fear. "I need you to pretend to be my husband. Just for 10 minutes. Marcus froze, his coffee nearly slipping from his grip. The woman was stunning otherworldly, really with skin that seemed to shimmer faintly under the streetlights. Her grip on his arm was surprisingly strong, and he could feel her trembling. "Lady, I don't know what kind of scam this is, but they're hunting me," she interrupted, her accent strange and melodic. "The collectors, they track unmarried females of my kind. If they find me alone, I'll be taken back and forced into a breeding program." Her voice cracked. "Please, I'm begging you." Marcus's rational mind screamed at him to walk away. This was insane. Yet something in her desperate expression, the genuine terror in those unusual eyes, made him hesitate. He'd spent his life playing it safe, following rules, avoiding complications. Maybe that's why his marriage had failed. Maybe that's why he felt so hollow. 10 minutes, he asked. Relief flooded her face. 10 minutes. I swear, on the moons of Theta Prime. Before he could question that strange oath, she pressed something cold into his palm, a ring that seemed to pulse with inner light. As Marcus slipped it on, warmth spread through his finger, and suddenly, he could sense her emotions, fear, hope, and something else he couldn't quite identify. "They're coming," she whispered, moving closer to him. "Put your arm around me. Act natural." 3 figures emerged from the shadows across the street, tall, imposing, wearing dark suits that seemed to absorb light. Their eyes glowed amber as they scanned the crowd. Marcus's heart hammered, but he pulled the woman closer, pressing his lips to her temple. "What's your name?" he murmured. "Lyra," she breathed. "And thank you, stranger. You may have just saved my life." The collectors moved through the crowd like sharks circling prey. Marcus forced himself to laugh at nothing, tilting his head toward Lyra as if she'd just told him a joke. His hand found hers, and the ring on his finger grew warmer, creating an invisible bond between them. "They can sense biological markers," Lyra whispered against his shoulder. "The ring masks my signature, makes me read as bonded. But they'll scan us. We need to sell this." "Sell what, exactly?" Marcus asked, his voice tight. "A marriage, a life together." Her fingers intertwined with his. "I'm sorry to drag you into this." One of the collectors turned their direction. "It's ice, definitely. It's..." Marcus realized with a chill locked onto them. The creature's face was almost human, but not quite. Like a sculpture made by someone who'd only heard humans described secondhand. "Keep walking," Lyra murmured, toward the residential district. "Married couples don't loiter." They moved naturally, Marcus's arm around her waist. He was acutely aware of how she fit against his side, how her silver hair brushed his jaw. The collector followed, maintaining a careful distance. "Tell me something real," Lyra said suddenly, "something a husband would know." Marcus's mind raced. "You have a birthmark on your left shoulder blade, shaped like a constellation?" She glanced at him, surprised. "How did you lucky guess?" "I'm an astronomer. Constellations are my thing." He managed to smile. "Do you have a birthmark?" "Yes," she admitted softly. "The pattern of my home star system." The collector was closing in. Marcus could feel its attention like ice on his spine. Without thinking, he stopped, turned Lyra toward him, and kissed her. It was meant to be for show, a performance to convince their observer. But the moment their lips met, something extraordinary happened. The ring flared brilliant white. Marcus felt a surge of connection, not just physical, but deeper. He could feel Lyra's surprise, her fear melting into something warmer. Images flooded his mind. Alien skies, twin moons, a world of silver forests and crystal cities. He saw her memories, her escape, her loneliness, her desperate hope for freedom. When they broke apart, both were breathless. The collector had stopped, its head tilting in apparent confusion. Then, slowly, it turned and walked away, disappearing into the night. "That wasn't supposed to happen," Lyra whispered, touching her lips. "The bonding ritual. It only activates with true compatibility." Marcus stared at her, his world tilting. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that ring just married us. For real." Marcus's apartment suddenly felt too small with Lyra in it. She stood by his window, gazing at the city lights with an expression of wonder and melancholy. The ring on his finger still pulsed softly, and through it, he could feel her emotions like whispers at the edge of his mind. "You should sit down," she said without turning. "I owe you an explanation." He collapsed onto his couch, his hands shaking slightly. "Start with why you're on Earth, and why those things are hunting you." Lyra turned, and in the lamplight, her otherworldly nature was undeniable. Her skin held an opalescent quality, and her eyes reflected light like a cat's. "My people, the E3, were once explorers. We've traveled the stars freely, learning from other species. Then the collectors came interdimensional slavers who harvest rare beings for wealthy clients. E3 females are particularly prized for our empathic abilities and long lifespans." She moved to sit across from him, careful to maintain distance. "They've been hunting survivors for decades. I escaped 3 years ago, hiding on different worlds. Earth seemed perfect, crowded, chaotic, easy to disappear in. But they found me. Her voice cracked. They always do, Meringue Marcus said, holding up his hand. You said it bonded us. What does that mean? E3 mate bonds are ... permanent, sacred. The ring was supposed to create a temporary illusion, fooling their sensors, but instead she closed her eyes. I don't understand. The ritual requires mutual compatibility at a soul level. It shouldn't have worked with a stranger. Marcus thought about his failed marriage, how he'd always felt something was missing. Sarah had accused him of being emotionally distant, of always seeming to search for something she couldn't provide. He'd thought it was his fault, that he was broken somehow. Can it be undone? He asked quietly. Hurt flashed across Lyra's face before she masked it. Yes, in theory, but the ritual requires both parties to willingly sever the bond, and doing so is ... painful, like tearing away part of your soul. I didn't mean, Marcus started, then stopped. What did he mean? He'd just had his entire understanding of reality shattered. I need to process this. I understand. Lyra stood gracefully. I'll leave. The bond will protect you from their sensors now, but they'll eventually realize the deception. I won't put you in more danger. Wait, the word escaped before Marcus could think. Through the ring, he felt her hope kindle. You said they're hunting you. Where will you go? I don't know. Away. She smiled sadly. I've gotten good at running. Marcus looked at this woman. This alien hood crashed into his carefully ordered life. He thought about his empty apartment, his predictable routines, the hollow feeling that had haunted him for years. Then he thought about that kiss, the electric connection, the way the universe had suddenly felt larger and more full of possibility. Stay, he said, at least for tonight. We'll figure this out together. Morning light filtered through Marcus's curtains, and for a disorienting moment, he thought he'd dreamed everything. Then he saw Lyra curled up on his couch, her silver hair spilled across the cushions, and reality crashed back. She stirred as he entered with coffee, her eyes opening to reveal their unusual violet depths. Through the bond, he felt her surprise, then embarrassment. I'm sorry, she said quickly. I meant to leave before you woke. With your brilliant plan of running forever, Marcus handed her a mug. Drink, then we're going to talk strategy. She accepted the coffee with a curious expression. You're taking this remarkably well. I'm panicking internally, he admitted, sitting in his armchair. But I'm also an astrophysicist. I've spent my career proving that impossible things exist. You're just more impossible than most. He paused. Tell me about the collectors. What are we really dealing with? Over the next hour, Lyra explained the harsh reality. The collectors operated through interdimensional rifts, hunting across multiple worlds. They had technology that made Earth's defenses meaningless, and connections to criminal networks throughout the galaxy. Most captured E3 were never seen again. But the mate bond changes things, she said, her fingers unconsciously touching the ring on her hand. Bonded E3 are worthless to them. Our abilities become linked to our partner. We can't be separated without losing what makes us valuable. It's why they only hunt the unbonded. So as long as we're bonded, you're safe. Theoretically. But Marcus, you don't understand what you've committed to. E3 bonds are for life. Centuries. My people live for 500 of your years. She met his eyes. You'd be tying yourself to someone you don't know, don't love, for your entire natural life. Through the bond, Marcus felt her conflict hope, warring with guilt. She wanted to be free, but not at the cost of trapping him. The sensation of her emotions mixing with his was strange but not unpleasant. It felt like learning a new language, one spoken in feelings rather than words. Let's think about this practically, Marcus said. We're bonded. Fact, you need protection. Fact, running hasn't worked. Also, fact, he leaned forward. What if instead of running, we stood our ground? Made this real enough that the collectors have no choice but to leave you alone. Made it real how? We sell the marriage, documentation, witnesses, a shared life. Make it so undeniably legitimate that coming after you would break their own protocols. He felt his scientific mind engaging with the problem. You said they have rules about bonded pairs. What exactly are those rules? Lyra sat up straighter, hope blooming through their connection. Bonded E3 are protected under the Galactic Convention on Sentient Rights. Violating that protection carries severe penalties, even for the collectors. But they'd investigate thoroughly, looking for any sign the bond is false. Then we make sure they find nothing but the truth. Marcus surprised himself with his certainty. I have vacation time. We'll use it to build a history together. Photos, stories, witnesses. By the time they investigate, it'll be unshakable. Why are you doing this? Lyra asked softly. You don't owe me anything. Marcus thought about his question from the night before. Could the bond be undone? He'd asked, out of shock, not rejection. But now, feeling Lyra's fierce determination to survive, her loneliness, her unexpected kindness, despite her fear, he found himself wanting to know her better. Maybe I'm tired of running too, he said. From life, from connection, from anything that feels real. You came crashing into my existence, and for the first time in years, I feel awake. He managed to smile. Besides, how many guys can say they're married to an alien princess? I'm not a princess. She laughed, and the sound was like music. But thank you, Marcus Chen. For being nothing like I expected a human to be. 3 weeks later, Marcus stood in his apartment wearing his best suit, nervously adjusting his tie. Around him, a small group of friends and colleagues mingled, drinking champagne and offering congratulations on his whirlwind romance. The story they'd crafted meeting at an astronomy conference, falling hard and fast, seemed to satisfy everyone's curiosity about his sudden marriage. Lyra emerged from the bedroom, and Marcus's breath caught. She wore a simple silver dress that seemed to shimmer with her movement, her hair woven with tiny lights that could pass for decorative fiber optics but were actually bioluminescent strands from her homeworld. She'd stopped hiding her otherworldly beauty, learning to present it as exotic rather than alien. "They're here," she whispered, touching the ring that bound them. "The collectors, I can sense them outside, scanning the building." Marcus felt her fear through the bond, but also something new. Over the past weeks, they'd built something real together. Shared meals and stories, late-night conversations about stars and science. Moments of laughter and unexpected connection. What had started as pretense had evolved into genuine partnership, perhaps even friendship. "Let them scan," Marcus said, taking her hand. "Let them see exactly what we are." The ceremony was simpler. Friend who'd gotten ordained online. A few heartfelt words, rings exchanged. When Marcus spoke his vows, he meant them, not as declarations of romantic love that was still developing, fragile and uncertain, but as promises of partnership, protection, and the choice to face whatever came together. Marcus Chen. Choose you, Lyra of Theta Prime. I choose to stand with you against those who would take your freedom. I choose to learn who you are and let you learn me. For however long we have, I choose us. Lyra's eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she spoke her own vows, her voice steady despite the danger lurking outside. Through the bond, Marcus felt the collector's presence intensify, their sensors sweeping through the building like invisible searchlights. Then, as they kissed to seal their vows, the rings flared brilliant white again, but this time, it wasn't just the two of them. Every guest gasped as light washed through the room, and for one impossible moment, they all felt what Marcus and Lyra felt, the absolute certainty of their bond, the truth of their choice, the reality of their connection. The collector's presence vanished like smoke. "They're gone," Lyra breathed against Marcus's lips. They felt it, the complete bond. They know it's real. Later, after the guests had left and they stood together on the balcony watching the city lights, Marcus pulled Lyra close. "So this is real now, all of it. Are you sorry?" she asked quietly. Marcus considered the question carefully. 3 weeks ago, his life had been predictable, safe, and hollow. Now it was complicated, uncertain, and full of possibility. He could feel Lyra's presence in his mind like a constant companion, could sense her emotions alongside his own. It was strange and overwhelming, and somehow exactly right. "I'm terrified," he admitted. "You're going to outlive me by centuries. We barely know each other. This whole situation is insane." He tilted her face up to meet her eyes. "But I'm not sorry. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Lyra smiled, and through the bond, Marcus felt her joy mixed with tentative hope. "You know what the funny thing is? I asked a stranger to pretend to be my husband to save my life. Instead, I found someone who gave me a reason to truly live." "What happens now?" Marcus asked. "Now we figure it out. Together." She leaned into him, and he wrapped his arms around her. "We have time, Marcus, lots of it. Who knows? Maybe one day this pretend marriage becomes something neither of us expected." Marcus thought about possibilities. Her people's technology might extend his lifespan, or they might simply make the most of the years they had. Either way, it was more than he'd dared hope for just weeks ago. "I think," he said softly, "it already has." Above them, the stars shone with new meaning. Somewhere, among those distant lights, was Lyra's home, the world she'd lost. But here, in this moment, wrapped in each other's arms with an impossible bond connecting their souls, they'd found something equally precious. They'd found each other, and that, Marcus realized, was the most shocking reaction of all, not fear or panic or regret, but genuine gratitude for the desperate alien stranger who'd grabbed his arm outside the metro station and changed his life forever. The end.